Guys, are you still getting wasted? Are you getting stoned? Are you getting drunk whilst you're retaining? Is this really helping what you're doing? Is this really where you want to be aiming your energy, your direction, your flow in life? Like getting a bit drunk, having some beers, getting stoned, taking drugs, doing coke or doing pills or whatever you do out there, taking a lot of Xanax or stuff like that. Guys, this is not going to help your retention drive, and this is coming from someone who has spent a lot of time, over 15 years or more, getting drunk and getting wasted and doing all sorts of things, and now it's come back to a much healthier place and much more sober place. So guys, I've entitled this video "How Sobriety is the Truest Way with Semen Retention." So what does that mean? Where has this come from? So I was surfing through one of my retention groups on Facebook last week, and the topic came up: who smokes weed whilst they're retaining? And this, I wouldn't say it triggered me, but it alerted me. And there was already a lot of comments on this thread. And there were some guys that were saying, yeah, I smoke weed, it's fine. I smoke weed at the weekend. Or no, definitely not. So my understanding, this is my idea of weed, is weed makes me it really forces strong urges from me, and it brings me close to a relapse. And I've smoked a lot over my life, and I've barely smoked at all. I'm probably about 95% sober now, bar like the odd glass of wine. So yeah, smoking weed. For me, weed is a feminine plant. I think weed can be a teacher plant when used in ceremonial fashion, when used in ceremonial form. But the thing with the feminine is the feminine can be very alluring and very seductive. It can lure you in, really take you into its grasp, like this lovely smoking weed, or you're going to be feeling really nice for a few hours. I either chill out on the sofa. I'm more active when I smoke weed. I like to go and ride my bike and go for a walk and do some exercise, maybe do some baking or make a nice meal or do some dancing. But that's the thing. And I was just thinking this week how weed or marijuana is very much like a siren, guys. So siren is something from Greek mythology, and a siren would be there to lure people to their death. And for me, it's really resonant with sailors. A siren would be maybe out on the rocks or far away when a sailor's deep out at sea. And the sailor would hear that siren call, whatever the siren would call, maybe beautiful, mellifluous etudes to the sailor to come and greet her. And the sailor might be thinking, oh, it's really temptress, or there's real temptation to go and see the siren, even though he could hear the voice far out at sea. And the sailor might then walk off his boat, jump over his boat to meet the siren, and then he might fall to his death and drown because the siren wasn't real. It was a facade, or a mirage, you could call it, maybe a better word, of the potential that siren offered, but then the nothingness that is there. And that is how I very much see weed and marijuana. It kind of could offer you the world. You're really going to have this amazing feeling. And then kind of after it's all finished, I think a lot of people, and myself, just like, oh, why did I do that? Like a real waste of time. Also, it makes me really, really activate my mind in like 2, 3, maybe even a week afterwards. At least 4 days after, my mind is really churning thoughts. And I realise I've done enough like self-work and spiritual work and meditative work that is not how I want my mind. I want it to be calm and present and rational, my nervous system to be calmer and rational. And with weed, it really activates my thoughts. And also the aforementioned relapses, like that femininity, for me, it makes me feel very horny. It makes me feel like, oh, really nice. And it's a very, very old habit of mine to smoke weed and then PMO. And like that is not happening anymore. Absolutely not. Like retention is the way for me. And thus I feel sobriety is the way for me as well. Now, I want to play devil's advocate to my own argument here. I do think there is a very, very small place for weed. I think, as I said before, it is a teacher plant, maybe smoked once or twice a year, maybe like a mushroom ceremony. Like you can put an intention on it. You can pray to the weed before you smoke it. You can ask, what do you want to get out from this ceremony, from this sequence of events that will move ahead when you smoke your spliff or smoke from the pipe or even vaporize it. And I think it can be very insightful. In fact, the the podcast series that I've recorded on this channel, Meetings with Remarkable Men, that just came from a thought when I was just finishing off a trip or a weed trip. And it's like, why don't I interview men that I think are making a heartfelt difference in the world, positive masculine leaders? And it's like, oh, great, where did that come from? So I do think there's a tiny door for it, but smoking every day or every week or even every month, I don't think is the way forward at all, guys. Like, you are coming back to a path of purity, and you're purifying your vessel. Bringing in adulterants such as weed and alcohol is not the way to purify not the way to purify your body, your mind, your soul, and your spirit. Let's move on to the next one, alcohol. Now, this, especially in England, and I'm guessing the US as well, is so prevalent, it's ridiculous. Some people can't see the wood from the trees. I would think there, in the UK especially, there is an acceptable form of alcoholism, and there is so many functional alcoholics in the corporate world, especially in the world I worked in. Booze is not only tolerated, it is celebrated, it is worshipped in some way. I remember going to Finland and seeing a guy with a Jameson's whiskey tattooed on his leg. I was like, what? But yeah, some people are just really into it. I mean, I've had a long time with booze. I probably stopped drinking properly about 4 or 5 years ago. I got a Reiki attunement, and every time I drank after that, it was like pure poison going through my body. Like, I used to have like 4 or 5 pints on a Friday night and some shot or some spirits, and maybe a few drinks on Saturday night. I was a weekend drinker. I'm really, really glad I've got out of this drinking habit. Like, it's really crazy. Like, it's expensive. Like, it makes you fat. It can really mess up your organs in your inside, especially your liver. It bloats your skin eventually. And when you wake up the next morning, you're going to feel a hangover. Now, I know those are the negative aspects. Maybe the positive aspects that it lowers inhibition. It engenders more connection to people. Maybe it makes it easier to meet women, if that's what you want to do. It makes you maybe feel more relaxed. I think alcohol is a boundary to connection. What most people are looking for in their life is true connection, heartfelt connection to the other, to women, to men, to themselves as well. And when booze is there, it's like, I can't connect with the other, so I'm going to have this alcohol, pints or wine, whatever, so I can relax more, so I can just be more steady. I mean, it's a classic line here in the UK. I'm just going to have some alcohol to take the edge off. I mean, what's the edge? Like crazy crashing anxiety, the call of all your incredible shadow-like demons coming to haunt you? Probably, yes. But every time you have that drink, it's like, oh, am I going to deal with those demons? Am I really going to tackle my shadow? No, I'm just going to push them all away. So alcohol, I'm not a big fan of. But again, I want to play devil's advocate to this argument as well. I remember listening to a podcast with a very practicing Jewish guy. I don't think he was a rabbi. And they said, I don't know how true this is, that on the night of the Sabbath, they'll have a glass of red wine to celebrate and relax and unwind. Not drunk, but just to unwind. And I can see the benefits of this, and and how it can bring. I might go out very occasionally, have a meal, and have a small glass of wine, and I almost always regret it. I remember at Christmas, I had like a couple of Baileys, as traditional on Christmas Day night around the fire. Totally regretted it on Boxing Day. It's just not for me. I always have a bad sleep. So yeah, alcohol I'm not into at all. And it kind of makes me think, guys, it's like, what are we doing here as retainers? I've just mentioned it before. We're coming to purity. And some people, if you could say, we're connecting with God. Like, would God want you to be messy and drunk and getting wasted all the time? I'm sure he or they or she probably would not really. For me, when I'm retaining and exercising as well, it's kind of almost all I need. Like, with the energy I've accrued from the retention, I just feel like, I'm so grounded, and I feel like really balanced and poised, and I feel kind of humble as well to kind of just go through my life and be pleasant and happy. And with exercise, I always feel like my elevation, like my mood and my endorphins and my physicality is up as well. Like, I'm always upbeat here most of the time, I would say. Anything else on this topic of sobriety? Yeah, it may look like a little facile for me just to sit here and say, don't do this, don't do that. I understand addictions. They can be very, very heavy. They can be life destroying. I mean, a lot of people watching this, a lot of men watching this might have gone through lust and see how potentially or almost life destroying lust can be. Lust, out of control lust. I'm sure many people have come across, probably in their family and their friends, alcoholics who just cannot stop drinking, who know it's bad for them. They're getting fat, they're getting liver problems, like they're getting mobility problems. They just can't stop drinking. Like, they just cannot. Guys, there's groups for this. There's AA, there's Lustaholics Anonymous, there's NA, there's Weed Smokers Anonymous out there. There's lots of groups to go and get help out there. And I'll leave it on this, guys. Like, we're coming back to a point of cleanliness. I want cleanliness in my body, and cleanness as well. When I'm bringing on lots of adulterants, my body is not clean. So I'm eating well, I'm retaining, and I'm exercising well, and drinking lots of water as well. Like, these are my kind of, fundamentals or non-negotiables for my cleanliness and sobriety. Okay, guys, thanks very much. A little bit of a rant here, or a polemic from me. Let me know what you think. Comments, suggestions, critiques, all welcome. Hit subscribe if you at all feel interested in my work. And guys, have a great week. See you later. Bye 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 bye.